Hello everyone, welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is, I found a box of chocolates on my front porch. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. If you like listening to stories from me, please subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get into this nightmare. Hi, I'm Nathaniel. I'm 25 years old, and as of writing this, I already bought my plane ticket to go as far away from here as possible. But let me go back and start telling my story from the beginning. A few days ago, I found a real estate deal so amazing that I couldn't believe my eyes. A nice 2-story house, fairly big, with the price of an apartment. Of course, being the naive fool I am, I jumped into it head first. After graduating college, I landed a nice job as an IT expert in a prestigious company and had made some savings. So my plan was to build a stable life, and this opportunity would essentially give me a head start. It basically couldn't get better than this, or so I thought. The one downside was that the town my new house was in was considerably far from the one I currently lived in. This of course meant riding in the old flying bus, as I packed a huge suitcase that barely fit in its luggage compartments. Did I mention that I am pretty prone to uncalculated, risk-taking behavior? Yeah. I canceled the lease on my studio apartment before flying to my would-be new home. Pretty smart, eh? The plane landed. I grabbed my things, paid a crap load for an overpriced crappy cup of coffee at the airport, and took the bus, followed by a cab. I had a phone call with the car shipping company and figured that they'd bring my car to my new house by the time I'd be done furnishing it. Oh boy, out of all the crappy decisions I made, I regret this one the most. What wouldn't I give to have my car parked in front of the house now? I arrived at the real estate dealership. The guy who greeted me was a fairly ordinary looking man, in his 40s in a suit. He told me that his name was Marcus Capallo. He was about 5'10", had thinned out gray hair, calm and friendly demeanor, which certainly helped me to prevent me from having any suspicions about this whole thing. He told me the reason why this house was so cheap was because its former owner had inherited a much bigger house from his great-grandfather and was hastily trying to get this property sold to pay his debts. Plausible, right? While Capallo was driving us to my new home, we had to make a stop at what looked like a police checkpoint. The man inside the little cabin came out and greeted us. He already knew Mr. Capallo, and after a casual greeting with him, came over to my window to introduce himself as the Neighborhood's Homeowners Association's private security guard. I sighed and rolled my eyes. Ugh. It's one of these neighborhoods. Capallo said he'd take me to see the HOA president first, to get introduced and such. We drove to his house and rang the doorbell. An old scraggly-looking man opened the door and introduced himself as Francesco Spallanzani, the president of the HOA. He looked to be a very old, slow, weak, and fragile-looking man. He leaned on his little stick to even walk. His wife Betty, however, was in complete contrast to him, in the sense that she, despite her age, was pretty lively. After a cup of coffee in their house, Spallanzani, Capallo, and I drove to my new house. At its empty state, it was a pretty eerie sight. The front porch looked like a graveyard, and the old wooden stairs creaked as we stepped on them. The house was definitely older than how it looked in the pictures. The thin whistling sound of the blowing wind did not help the atmosphere. As we arrived, all the neighbors in the nearby homes came out to greet us. It looked like everyone knew each other except me, and that included Capallo too. One thing I noticed, however, was that all the neighbors seemed to be couples without any children. There wasn't a single big family in sight. I do remember jokingly asking Spallanzani about where all the children in the neighborhood went, but he brushed it off. After the crappy introductions were over, I stupidly signed the contract, and they finally left me alone. I started unpacking whatever I had in my luggage, and waited for the shipping trucks to bring my furniture. As the trucks came and I moved my stuff in, all the neighbors were strangely very helpful. They helped to carry and unpack my stuff, and also brought me many gifts. Well, at least there's that, I naively thought to myself. The next morning when I got out to take care of the garden, I found a box placed in front of the door. The card attached had the following written: "A welcoming gift from your new neighbors." The cardboard box had 4 smaller, white cardboard boxes in it, and inside those were pieces of chocolate. After seeing that, I was very grateful to have such nice neighbors. I thought I was so lucky. Though my gratefulness may have also stemmed from the fact that I was frickin' hungry from going straight to bed after a long day of hard work, moving stuff around and such. So I basically gobbled up all the chocolate from one of the 4 boxes. I strangely felt very full after that, and didn't feel the need to eat a full-course breakfast. The rest of the day went on with further finishing and taking care of my new property, and I was pretty chill until I got a phone call from the car shipping company, stating that my car had a malfunction with its engine, and that they needed a few weeks to fix it. Otherwise, it simply wouldn't take off. The good news that elevated my mood, though, my sister and her son were coming to visit me and my new home. It's been a while since I last saw them, so that definitely was a mood lifter. After they came to visit me, my sister started helping me with my decorations, and my nephew was playing in the backyard. Everything was relatively normal up until this point. But from here on, shit hit the fan. Because just in an hour, my nephew Stefan went missing. I knocked on the doors of all the neighbors to ask them, but all of them said that they had no idea. I called Spallanzani, but his response was the same as everybody else. I called the cops and filed a missing persons case too, of course. In the blink of an eye, the joy of my acquisitions of a new home turned into tragedy as I made no less than 100 phone calls and basically looked everywhere around the neighborhood while trying to comfort my sister at the same time, who cried her eyes out. The search hopelessly ended that day with no leads whatsoever. The next day I found another box on my front porch. This time the card had the following written: "A gift of condolences from all your neighbors." Inside the box were just 2 little boxes this time. I opened up one of them, and it had chocolate in it. Out of stress, I quickly took a huge bite without much thinking. This one also had a strange flavor and smell that I noticed from the first one. When I bit deeper though, my teeth struck something hard. It was my nephew Stefan's silver necklace. I quickly opened the other box, and inside it was just a note. Sorry for the small amount. This one was pretty small and scrawny. He only amounted to 1 box of chocolate. By the way, do you still wonder where all the children in the neighborhood went? The end. That was, I found a box of chocolates on my front porch. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like. I hope you all have had a great day, and have a good night.